family this morning is offering a $71,000 reward for any information on this woman. She is a mom of 5, and she's been missing for more than a week.
On January 5th, 2015, 35-year-old Crystal Rogers, a mother of 5, was reported missing by her mother after days of unanswered phone calls and messages raised alarm. That same day, her vehicle was discovered abandoned on the side of the road with Crystal nowhere in sight. Did Crystal leave on her own, or is someone responsible for her disappearance? Crystal Marie Rogers was born on April 4, 1980 in a small town called Bardstown, Kentucky. Growing up in a close-knit household with her parents, Sherry and Tom Ballard, and her siblings, Crystal learned the values of family, commitment, and looking out for others by being an active member in her community. Caring for her 5 children, Crystal worked primarily as a nursing assistant who was described by her friends as being compassionate, responsible, and friendly. Crystal was a mother of 4 from her previous relationship and had a 2-year-old son with her then boyfriend Brooks Houck, who would be the last person reportedly to see her alive. On the evening of July 3, 2015, Crystal was spending time on her phone playing games, according to Houck, before he went to bed. The next morning, July 4th, Houck woke up with Crystal missing and her 2007 Chevy Impala not in the driveway. Houck tried to get in contact with her along with her family and friends. However, those attempts would go unanswered. Friends and family stated this was out of character for her, as she would never abandon her children. The next day, on July 5th, Crystal's vehicle was found abandoned along the Bluegrass Parkway near mile marker 14. The car had a flat tire, and inside investigators found her keys, purse, and cell phone. Crystal's mother reported her daughter missing that same day, as the discovery of her car prompted more questions than answers of where Crystal went. After the discovery of Crystal's car, local law enforcement launched an immediate search joined by community volunteers. Dogs, drones, and ground teams combed the area around the Bluegrass Parkway and nearby roads.
While police are processing details, many members of Rogers' family are searching numerous locations in Nelson County looking for her. On Monday, they traced the grounds near where her car was found on the Bluegrass Parkway, and yesterday, they searched as far as Bullitt County and also Elizabethtown.
But throughout all the searches, no evidence was discovered. Authorities will continue the investigation and follow up on tips for the following year and a half when another tragedy struck the family of Crystal Rogers. On November 19, 2016, Crystal's father, Tommy Ballard, was shot to death in his chest by an unknown subject while preparing a hunting trip with his 12-year-old grandson on his family property next to Bluegrass Parkway in Bardstown, Kentucky. What was interesting about Tommy's death is that he was adamant about finding out what happened to his daughter. He created Team Crystal, a group of Bardstown, Kentucky community members dedicated to searching for Crystal. Could Tommy's death have been targeted by someone involved in his daughter's disappearance to prevent him from finding out the truth? To this day, Tommy's killer has not been identified, and the case is still ongoing. Crystal's then boyfriend, Brooks Houck, became a person of interest immediately after Crystal's disappearance. On July 8, 2015, Houck interviewed at the Nelson County Sheriff's Office and spent more than an hour and a half writing a detailed statement of his whereabouts and actions on the day Crystal disappeared. Several things of note came out of this written statement. The statement would reveal gaps in the story that police would later press him on. Houck stated he met multiple people for work that last day Crystal was seen alive. However, after police spoke with the people Houck mentioned, they stated they did not meet with him that day. At the end of the statement, Houck wrote down the night Crystal disappeared, himself, Crystal, and their son walked around their farm, fed the animals, and then proceeded to burn a pile of debris before leaving the farm around 11:30 p.m. This contradicted Houck's movements according to Google's cell phone data. The data revealed Houck was at the farm between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. on July 3rd, not 11:30 p.m. like in his statement. According to Louisville Metro Police Department forensic expert Tim O'Daniel, Houck left the farm to go to a hardware store and then went back to his house and stayed there between 4:45 p.m. and 7:05 p.m. Then he returned to the farm between 7:30 and 11:57 p.m. with his phone pinging at various locations on the 200-acre property. Houck stated they all went straight home after leaving the farm. However, Cell phone towers pinged Houck at the parking lot in the Old Kentucky campground just before 12:15 a.m. on July 4th. Remember when Houck mentioned Crystal playing games on her phone before bed? Well, records show Crystal's cell phone died just before 9:30 p.m. The phone was then powered back on at 11:57 p.m. before being manually turned off. Authorities believe Crystal never left the farm on July 3, 2015. Houck's brother Nick Houck, at the time, was a Bardstown, Kentucky police officer. During a police interview with Brooks on July 8th, Nick Houck called his brother and told him to stop talking to the police in the middle of the interview. This raised suspicion not only about Brooks, but also about Nick. Why would Nick want Brooks to stop talking to the police, especially when he could provide crucial information in those first few days that might help determine Crystal's whereabouts? Nick was then officially on the investigators' radar. Nick was not fully cooperating with police, but reluctantly agreed to a polygraph test on July 20, 2015. The polygraph examiner expressed grave concerns about the results. In October 2015, Nick was fired from the Bardstown Police Department. He was fired for interfering with the ongoing investigation related to the Crystal Rogers disappearance. Over the next several years, police would piece together evidence to build their case to finally find out what happened to Crystal Rogers and hold the people involved accountable for their actions. In 2016 and 2017, Brooks Houck's grandmother Anna Whitesides and mother Rosemary Houck both had their properties searched looking for any evidence that could be connected to Crystal's disappearance. A white Buick owned by Whitesides drew early attention because witnesses reported seeing it in unusual places the night Crystal disappeared. Whitesides stole the vehicle, but police were able to locate it and search for it, finding a strand of hair in the trunk of the car that was consistent with Crystal's hair. Two men, Steve Lawson, who worked for Houck in the construction business, along with son Joey, also became involved in the case when Steve Lawson made a phone call at midnight to Houck on the night Crystal disappeared.
On the phone records, there appears to be a phone call around midnight.
All right.
On Friday night, Saturday morning.
All right.
I'm talking about on your way home, basically.
All right.
Do you know who that person was that called you around midnight? Do you remember taking a phone call?
Can you just call the number back? I don't.
I mean, I could. I could.
What's
I
the
could
phone
look at
number?
your phone.
Yeah, look at my phone, but I don't remember
You
that.
don't remember getting a phone call on the way home?
Mm-mm.
Would it be unusual for you to get a phone call at midnight? I mean, it is for me, and I work for the sheriff's office. I get calls quite regularly. But
Some of the people that do the tile for me, I wouldn't put it past them to call me at any time. They lay brick through the day, and then they're tiling my houses at night. The Thomases I wrote on there, Derek and his brother Tyler Thomas, they'll call me at any time. And I've got even if it's just one day, I don't pay them people by the job. They got to get paid by the hour, and then when they get done with it, I pay them.
right.
That's just what we've agreed on. But yeah, those folks there call me any hour.
It was a pretty short phone conversation is the only reason I asked.
Mhm.
Kind of unusual to get a 13-second phone conversation at midnight. You know, it is for me. It may not be for you. But
All right. Well, just check it out. Yeah, check it out in detail. That's right.
This is what investigators believed happened to Crystal Rogers. On July 3, 2015, Houck lured Crystal into thinking they were going on a date night by bringing her to the family farm. According to Crystal's friends, Christina Holly and Amanda Greenwell, she was excited for the kid-free evening with Houck. It was there that they believed Crystal was murdered on the farm. The rest of the details of how the crime was carried out are still unclear because till this day, Crystal's body has not been discovered. It is believed Crystal was killed on the farm by Brooks Houck. She was transported in a vehicle, possibly in Houck's grandmother's white Buick, for her body to be disposed of. Joey Lawson was then responsible for taking Crystal's car, along with her belongings and evidence, when unexpectedly a flat tire threw a wrench in their plans. That is when Joey called his father Steve to come and pick him up, and Crystal's car was left abandoned on the side of the road. That is when Steve Lawson called Houck and told him the job was done. Now, why would Houck want to get rid of the mother of his child? It was reported that Brooks Houck was having an affair a month prior to Crystal's disappearance. Their relationship was in trouble, and Houck did not want to pay for child support and share custody, so he thought his solution would be to make Crystal disappear. According to Charlie Girdley, another man who worked for Houck, recalled a conversation between he, Steve Lawson, and Houck. Girdley stated Houck told Lawson he wanted his wife gone. Lawson then said, "You mean gone like deceased?" In court, Lawson stated both he and Girdley both laughed it off, with both men not believing Houck was serious. As it turns out, he was indeed serious. Steve Lawson admitted he was helping Houck out as a favor, and in return, he would give him more business in the construction work for his involvement. Lawson denied not knowing what happened to Crystal, and states he never agreed to participate in a murder plan. He states he was only helping his son and Houck out, and had no idea why he wanted the vehicle moved. All three men, Steve Lawson, Joey Lawson, and Brooks Houck, were arrested for the presumed murder and disappearance of Crystal Rogers. In 2025, the trials of Steve Lawson, Joseph Lawson, and Brooks Houck began. In May 2025, a Warren County jury in Kentucky found Steve Lawson guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence in connection with the disappearance and presumed murder of Crystal Rogers. The jury deliberated for just 2.5 to 3 hours before reaching their verdict. At the sentencing hearing on August 6, 2025, a Nelson County judge filed the jury's recommendation, sentencing Lawson to 17 years in prison. Following his conviction, Lawson filed a notice of appeal seeking to overturn the verdict. He has since been transferred to a state prison facility in Oldham County to begin serving his sentence. In July 2025, Joseph Lawson, just like his father, was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence in connection with the disappearance and presumed murder of Crystal Rogers. A Warren County jury delivered the verdict. The jury recommended a total prison sentence of 25 years, 20 years for the conspiracy charge, and 5 years for tampering to be served consecutively. In October 2025, Lawson was transferred to Little Sandy Correctional Complex in Elliott County, Kentucky, to begin serving his sentence. Following his sentencing, Lawson also filed an appeal with the Kentucky Supreme Court, challenging his conviction. On July 8, 2025, it was Brooks Houck's turn in court. A Warren County jury in Bowling Green, Kentucky, found Houck guilty of murder as either principal or accomplice and tampering with physical evidence after roughly 3.5 to 4 hours of deliberation. At a September 17, 2025 hearing, Nelson County Circuit Judge Charles Sims sentenced Houck to life in prison with additional years for tampering with evidence to be served consecutively with a life sentence. Brooks Houck has filed an appeal with the Kentucky Supreme Court seeking to overturn his conviction. He maintains he is innocent and had nothing to do with the disappearance of Crystal Rogers.